Hey guys, Brian with Cajun Cardboard coming at you from the great state of Louisiana on the Luca Nation Network. Today we are talking about forgotten goats, not the farm animals, goats, G.O.A.T, greatest of all time. I recently did a video where I said that we need to be more particular and more thoughtful and more concise and more narrow-minded when we use the term goats. It's being used too loosely to include, guys that average 13 points and 5 assists and 4 rebounds a game. We're throwing it around there with guys that I don't think necessarily deserve it. It's determined for a select few. You need to be the greatest of all time at a particular skill set, or one of the greatest of all time on Rushmore, or at or near the top 10, or maybe the greatest at your particular position. Today's topic is John Stockton, and he clearly, in my mind, qualifies as GOATs if you want to use that term in the plural. Obviously, you guys know me and where I come from. There's one GOAT, and all paths lead back to him, but today we're talking about GOATs plural. John Stockton is one of the greatest point guards of all time. I can't wait to share this with you. This is completely unscheduled. I woke up this morning. I've got a list of like 45 topics over here that I'm ready to make videos about, but I woke up this morning and I don't know why. I must have seen a card on PWCC Weekly or something, but I was like, God dang it, the John Stockton cards are just too cheap. And so I know you guys are always like, oh, he's a pump and dump, he's a pump and dump. So I'm going to start the video by showing you guys, screen share, what's in my PWCC vault. This is every single John Stockton card that I own. You're looking at it on your screen, okay? So let's not get carried away. We're talking about, I think I've got 2 PSA 10 rookies, both of which I overpaid for. And then I've got a 2012 PSA 10 Stockton base card, which is probably a $40 card because I'm trying to collect the set in PSA 10. I've got this, which is really a Michael Jordan card. It just happens to have Stockton and the mailman on the card. And then I've got this little miniature Panini sticker panel that I thought was really cool. It's only pop 12. It's Stockton and Malone, and I think I paid like 30 or 40 bucks for it on a PWCC weekly auction. Those are, kind of the gems that you can find out there because people aren't looking for that stuff. So if you look hard enough, you can find it. So we're probably talking about a grand total of maybe $1,000 of John Stockton in my entire collection, which is not a very large percentage of it for those of you who know the type of stuff that I collect. So let's just start talking about this guy. We're going to get to his cards. The video is going to be, well received by basketball fans generally. If you're not watching my stuff because you collect cards, I'm going to save the card stuff till the end. So stay tuned till the end. We're going to look at John Stockton's career. We're going to talk about the 2 primary records that he's most known for, and the reason that I would include him in the GOATs conversation for greatest point guards of all time: assists and steals. Both career marks. And so we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about his cards at the very end, what's available, what has sold. I might have set the record for the most ever paid for a John Stockton card. And you're like, well, wait, Cajun Cardboard, you just showed us your vault. Why didn't you show us that card? I sold it a month later, that's why. So I bought the most expensive John Stockton card ever sold on a public platform. I crossed it to PSA, and then I sold it for a 25% profit to a good friend of mine with a much bigger John Stockton collection, I assure you. So we're going to get to that. I don't have the card anymore, so I'm not here to hype or pump and dump John Stockton. None of the cards on this, well, one of the PSA 10s is for sale if you want it, but none of these are really for sale. So this is not as much about cards as it is about educating you young folks that are in the hobby on just how damn good he was, how durable he was, how much longevity he had, and how he sustained a level of excellence when it comes to the pass first point guard position forever. So let's pull him up and just real quick, we're going to hit his bullet points. I've got Basketball Reference up on your screen, and there's going to be 18,000 pop-ups. I don't know how to make those stop. He's a Hall of Famer. He's NBA top 75 all time. So let's start right there. That puts him in very select company, not just in the Hall of Fame, but in the NBA's top 75 team. He's a 10-time All-Star. He's an 11-time All-NBA player. So one of those years he was an All-NBA player. He didn't make the All-Star team, which makes me think he must have had a hellacious second half of the season, because usually players make more All-Star teams than they do All-NBA teams. Remembering there's like 30 All-Stars every year, but there's only 15 players that make first, second, or third team All-NBA, and usually only around 3 at each position. He is the 2 times steals leader, which is interesting because he's the all-time steals leader, but he's a 9-time assists leader, which is unprecedented, unparalleled, and unmatched. He is 5 times all defensive team. What? That's right. Yes, he's white, and yes, he's 6'2", allegedly. But Basketball Reference has him at 6'1", 170 pounds. So a guy that looks like he could be your financial manager and manage your stock portfolio was one of the best defensive point guards that ever lived. 5 times all defensive in an era where defense meant everything is pretty impressive. He did share the court with Jordan and Gary Payton and all those guys, and to make all those defensive teams was just eye-popping. But anyway, he was also MVP of an All-Star game, but I don't give a lot of weight to anything like that because it's just one game, small sample size. He is clearly, in my mind, unquestionably, without any hesitation, a top 5 point guard of all time. There are crotchety people who would say he's the best point guard of all time. I'm probably leaning towards Magic Johnson on that, unless you consider LeBron James a point guard. I'm going to say Magic's the greatest point guard of all time. But this video is about John Stockton, so we'll say he's clearly nestled somewhere in the top 3 to 5 point guards of all time. He is the all-time assists and steals leader. Young people, if you don't know that, make sure that you watch this whole video because I'm about to show you some eye-popping numbers. He's not barely the assists and steals leader. He is going to be the assist leader and steals leader for a very, 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 very long time. He is not going anywhere at the top of those 2 lists, and you'll see what I'm talking about in a few minutes because we're going to crunch some crazy math nerd numbers. He has 7 of the 10 highest single-season assist seasons. The only other 3 that are in the top 10 list are Isaiah Thomas, Kevin Johnson, and Kevin Porter. And that Kevin Porter is not Kevin Porter Jr.'s father. It's a different Kevin Porter. He was a flash in the pan, but a big-time assist guy for about a 5, 6, 7 year span. So Isaiah Thomas, Kevin Johnson, and Kevin Porter cracked the top 10. The other 7 spots in the top 10 most assists ever recorded in a single season are all John Stockton. He played 19 seasons, all with the Utah Jazz. So he was the Dirk Nowitzki before the Dirk Nowitzki. He played alongside the Mailman, who's another GOAT, who's not quite as forgotten, but also a little bit forgotten in the card market. Let's talk about Stockton's biggest skill set. I guess when people think of skills in the game of basketball, they think of leaping ability, they think of speed, they think of ball handling, they think of shooting, they think of dunking, they think of things like that. They think of 3-point shooting, they think of defensive acumen, being able to guard multiple positions, blocking shots, and things like that. His greatest skill wasn't passing. His greatest skill wasn't stealing the ball from his opponent or jumping passing lanes. His greatest skill was simply longevity and durability. He did things that no player in the history of this game have ever done. And let me explain what I'm talking about. Despite the fact that he's the greatest assists and steals guy in the history of this league of 100 years history, his greatest skill was longevity and durability, for sure. He played at age 40. He played the point guard position at age 40. He made the All-Star team at age 37. He played, get this, really want you to concentrate on this stat. And I'm going to throw some crazy stuff out here. It's almost like he's a little white version of Wilt Chamberlain. He played 328 games in his final 4 seasons at age 37 to 40. So age 37, 38, 39, and 40, this guy on your screen played 328 games. Yes, you did the math right. That's 82 games a season, 4 consecutive seasons to end his career. Okay? The handful of players that have played 82 games, 4 consecutive seasons at any point in their career is a very small number. He did it in the last 4 seasons between age 37 and 40. He did not miss a single game in his last 328 games. And he wasn't just watching, he was playing. This ain't Udonis Haslem. This ain't Nick Collison. We're talking about a dude getting on the court and getting minutes in those games to the tune of 29.7, 29.2, 31.3, 27.7. I've played basketball at age 40. I've played a hellacious amount of pickup basketball at age 40. Ain't no way in hell I'm playing in back-to-back days at that age. My back hurt, my ankles hurt, my knees hurt. And so John Stockton to play in 328 consecutive games is mesmerizing. He missed 4 games, people. Look at this spread. I mean, first of all, it takes up almost the whole screen on Basketball Reference. He missed 4 games in his first 13 seasons. That's durability and longevity all rolled into one. So a lot of people don't have 13 seasons in their entire NBA career. He missed 4 games in his first 13 seasons. Imagine having this guy as your point guard in a dynasty fantasy basketball league. I know they didn't really do it back in the mid to late 80s and early mid 90s, but if they had fantasy basketball, he was a plug and play like no other. So let's start talking about his 2 big records. These are the 2 things that I wanted to talk about the most here today. I've got them pulled up. We'll talk about his steals record, which gets very little attention. I've got it pulled up right here. I've got it sorted by total steals. You want to look over here in this column on your left because as we know, the NBA and the ABA merged, I think, around 1976. And so we want to look at combined NBA, ABA records whenever we look at records because we want to give those guys like Doc and Dan Issel and those guys that played in both leagues, and Artis Gilmore and Kareem or whatever, not Kareem, but Artis Gilmore and those guys that played in the ABA for the Squires and the Colonels and all those cool teams. We want to give them credit for their ABA stats as well because it was a very competitive league as well. So we look at the combined NBA, ABA, which is on the left-hand side of your screen here. So you can see Stockton sits alone at 3,265. That's 3,265 steals. You can also look at this list, and let's get one thing out of the way. All 10 of the players on that list are or will be Hall of Famers. I think I can safely assume Chris Paul, who's also arguably one of the top 5 point guards of all time, certainly top 10, probably pushing top 5. We'll say that. That's another video, by the way. Is going to be a Hall of Famer. So 10 for 10. So if you can steal the ball from your opponent and you're one of the 10 best that ever did it, it earns you a way into the Hall of Fame. A lot of these guys were great at a lot of other facets of basketball as well. And part of the reason these guys are so far up here in steals is they were just always on the court because they were so good for so long. But so John Stockton has a 581 steals lead over second place Jason Kidd. What's that? Yes. The same Jason Kidd that played like a bazillion seasons. He is 581 steals behind him. If you're talking about points, that's not that much, right? You can pick that up in a season. That's real easy. That's 20 games, scoring 30 a game. But we're talking about steals. The best that have ever done this are stealing it maybe 2 times a game. So you're talking about a lot of games necessary, and that means a lot of seasons necessary to close a gap of 581 steals. So Jason Kidd finished second in steals, and we'll see a little bit later he's also second in assists. Chris Paul is 4th on this list, and he's active. So you're probably wondering to yourself, is there a chance Chris Paul could catch John Stockton? We'll get to that in just a second, and I think you will share the same answer that I have. CP3 is almost certainly going to catch Jason Kidd. He is 31 behind Jason Kidd, so about 115. Let's say worst case 145, 150 games behind him. If Chris Paul can stay healthy and grind out another 2 seasons, he's been playing at a really high level and still stealing the ball at a really high clip. He should be able to get past Jason Kidd into second place. But catching my man John Stockton is a whole nother story. We're not even going to get there. John Stockton averaged 2.0 steals per game 10 times in his NBA career. For those of you who don't know, if you play fantasy basketball, you know what that means. He averaged, for God's sakes, 1.9 steals at age 39 playing in a horrible Utah team. But he averaged a total of 2.2 steals per game, per season, over a 19-year career here. He's averaged 3 steals per game twice in his career, which is a mesmerizing number. And you can see they're in bold right here. And I know you see all this bold over here in the assist column. We're getting there. Relax. I know that's what y'all want to talk about. 3.2 assists per game, 3 steals per game here, 3 steals per game here. I've actually got a glitch on here. He has averaged 3 steals 3 times in his career. Twice he led the league with 3 or more steals. So that is just unprecedented stuff there. Here's an interesting fact. He's only 8th all time in steals per game. Okay, so think about that. He is far, and we're about to see how far and away, the all-time steals leader, but he's only 8th on the steals per game for a career list. What does that mean? Yes, it goes back to longevity and durability. Those are the 2 words. That's the recurring theme you're going to hear about John Stockton. Sustained excellence, right? That is what John Stockton was about. He knew what he did well, and he just did it and showed up every single day. And I don't know how the guy never got hurt. How do you not miss more than 4 games in 13 seasons? How do you play every single game when you're 37, 38, 39, and 40. No rolled ankles, no broken fingers, no concussions, no back injuries. I mean, think about all the greats that have played this game. Think about the guys that are playing right now. LeBron and Kawhi, and we're about to start seeing it with Giannis with a little bit of game management and keeping them fresh and this and that. For Stockton to do what he did, longevity and durability is going to be a recurring theme. I don't know who by the way, this is completely off the charts. I don't know who Don Buse is, but this dude stole the hell out of the ball from a steals per game. Here he is right here. He's third all time in the ABA in steals. That's just total steals. But his steals per game, he must have been a tricky MFer because he averaged 4.12 steals per game in 1975, the year after Cajun Cardboard was born. He was averaging 4.12 steals per game, the most all-time steals per game in any season in NBA history. So that's a record that's in and of itself pretty impressive. 47 years ago, he has the all-time ABA NBA record for steals per game at 4.12. That's a hell of a lot of steals. Stockton started his career at age 22. So that's another thing to remember, right? Think about these guys like LeBron, Kobe, KD had 1 year in college. There's a lot of, straight to the pros. And then there's a lot of one and dones. They're getting their career started at age 18, age 19. And so they're getting a jump on Stockton and all these guys. And some of those guys are on this list. Chris Paul was not at Wake Forest for 4 years. Jason Kidd, I don't recall, but I'm pretty sure he wasn't at California for 4 years. I should probably know that. I'm thinking maybe 1 or 2 years. Everybody on this list got a little bit of a head start on him, especially the ultra-modern guys that we're watching play right now. They've all had head starts, and you don't see them in the top 10 list. They just can't steal at the same clip. Stockton started his career at age 22. That's right. He's a fourth-year senior out of Gonzaga. Is obviously I still think the most famous player that ever played at Gonzaga, unquestionably. To be overtaken in steals. Okay, what has to happen? What has to happen for John Stockton to be caught in career steals? Well, Jason Kidd's second, right? We saw it up here. Jason Kidd's second. He's 581 behind. For Jason Kidd to catch him, he played 19 seasons. He retired at age 39, so it isn't like he was a spring chicken when he retired. There was not a lot of meat left on the bone. Jason Kidd wasn't stealing it 2.5 times a game when he retired. I assure you of that. He averaged 1.9 steals per game for his career. And just to keep it in perspective, John Stockton's next to last season at age 39, he averaged 1.9 steals. So at age 39, John Stockton was stealing the ball at the same rate that Jason Kidd did for his entire career, including his prime, 1.9 steals per game. So Kidd's got 19 seasons. He's age 39. He averaged 1.9 steals per game. At 1.9 steals. Let's just give Jason Kidd 1.9 steals per game. He would need 305 more games to tie Stockton. That doesn't sound like a lot, but what that means is he would need to average 2 steals per game, which is more than his career average, at age 40 for 4 more seasons, including his age 43 season, and he would have to have a 23 season career. That's how big the gap is between Stockton and Kidd. Kidd would need to outperform his career average in steals at age 40, 41, 42, and 43, and play 70 games a season, and finish all of those games, 280, 305 more games at 2+ steals per game just to tie Stockton. What about Chris Paul? He's active. He's got a better steals per game over his career than Jason Kidd does. He averaged 2.1 steals per game for his career, and he's still going. Chris Paul's 812 behind, though. You got to remember that. That's a lot more. He's played 17 seasons. He's only 36 years. I say only 36 years old. He's 36 years old. He averages 2.1 steals per game for his career. He needs 386 more games to catch Stockton. So he needs almost an entire season more, a full season more games to catch Stockton than Jason Kidd does. So to put that in perspective, Chris Paul would need to continue 2.1 steals per game, which is his career average, for 5.5 seasons, assuming he plays 70 games a season. I'm not even saying 82 games a season. He gets 70 games a season, 5.5 more seasons, including his age 42 season, and he needs to have a 22 season career. So we know Chris Paul's not catching him as well. This goes back to our little question here is, can Chris Paul catch Can Chris Paul catch Jason Kidd past Michael Jordan? Of course, he's right there. And can he catch Jason Kidd? I think he can. He needs to stay healthy. He's been on a good streak here. So let's see if Chris Paul can catch Jason Kidd. So here's what's interesting. We've skipped over the real GOAT, the GOAT singular, Michael Jordan, Michael Jeffrey Jordan. For those of you who don't know, because everybody's so hyper-focused on how he dunked the ball, how many rings he won, how many points he scored, how many points he averaged, the way he talked, the way he dressed, the shoes he made, the brand he created, the team he owns. He stole the shit out of the ball, okay? Michael Jordan averaged 2.3 steals per game. And remember, he missed 4.5 seasons from his 2 retirements. Just from his retirements, right? And I'm talking about the season and a half for baseball, where he took off and came back and then won 3 more rings. But I'm also talking about the seasons that he retired before he came back as a Wizard. If he had all 4.5 of those seasons back, who knows? He would have had 32.90, which would have put him ahead of Stockton if he had averaged 2.3 steals per game during those games that he missed for those retirements. So we literally could be, and let's keep that in perspective, Michael Jordan could also be the all-time steals leader. How nice would it be to have that feather in your cap in all these BS arguments about LeBron versus Jordan, Bill Russell versus Jordan, Kareem versus Jordan? How awesome would it be to have that feather in your cap as a Jordan collector or as a Jordan GOAT fan to say, oh, by the way, not only is the leading scorer of all time, but over here in this defensive category, which is steals, he was also the all-time steals leader. Could have been done, could have been possible, but who knows? Jordan may have ended his career shorter and not played those extra seasons, so a lot of it's conjecture. But you also got to remember, Jordan missed 64 games in 1985, where he was really stealing the hell out of the ball. He had that broken foot where he tried to rush back and come back, and the Bulls wouldn't let him because they wanted a lottery pick. So he missed 64 real solid prime games as well, in addition to those 4.5 retirement seasons. So the closest competition to John Stockton on any of these lists for all-time steals is actually Michael Jeffrey Jordan, in my opinion. But again, to be fair, we can't assume Jordan would have averaged 2.3 steals in the 4.5 seasons he missed during those retirements, because for his last 2 Bulls seasons, even this is even before, his Wizards years, his Bulls last 2 seasons, he was only stealing the ball 1.7 and 1.5 because he had so much of a load to carry on offense. So he was letting Pippen do all the defensive work, and he was stealing the ball at 1.7 and 1.5 for his Wizards years. So he was never going to catch Stockton either. So just conjecture. So that's it for steals. I think we can all safely assume, correct me if I'm wrong, please comment if I'm missing something here. They started, tabulating steals in 1973-74, so similar to blocks. Blocks weren't tabulated when Wilt and Russell were playing, but steals started being tabulated in 73-74. So can we all agree Chris Paul's not catching him? These guys have already come up short. And by the way, I do want to take a special note here that the first episode I ever did on Forgotten GOATs, you can go check it out on my Cajun Cardboard channel, was on Hakeem Olajuwon, because I feel like his cards, and again, I know there's more to cards than just the statistics and the credentials and the resume, but I thought Hakeem Olajuwon's cards were a little bit underpriced, and this was a while ago that I did this video, so I don't know what they've done. I'm not an Olajuwon collector either, so I'm not hyping him, but Olajuwon is a 6'11" center, and he's top 10 all-time in steals. Let that sink in. That's how special that dude was. That's how agile, how coordinated, what great instincts he had. He was a soccer goalie before he was a basketball player. So Olajuwon was just a special dude, man. 2,162 steals, and he's got his college teammate Clyde Drexel right next to him with 2207, so that's pretty cool as well. But let's keep rolling. Okay, so we're done with steals. There's nobody catching Stockton. Untouchable record. It's probably not going to be touched by the time I leave this earth, I don't think, unless something nuts happens or the way the game's played changes. Let's talk about the real record, the real thing that people remember when they talk about John Stockton. And now we're talking about his NBA-ABA merger combined stats, all-time assists lead, right? We're talking about total assists. And so I've got it pulled up here on your screen. Here it is again over here in this left-hand column. You see Stockton at 15,806, and Jason Kidd is next with 12,091. That is a 3,715 assist lead. Doesn't sound like a lot because you can get 10 assists a game. People do it, right? League leaders average 10 assists per game. Here we go. We're going back to it. Longevity and durability. You have to have those and be one of the greatest passers that ever lived to catch him. Jason Kidd, again, is second. Just like he was in steals, he's also second in assists. Again, we're looking at whether or not Chris Paul can catch Jason Kidd. He almost certainly will catch Jason Kidd in this category, in my opinion. He's only a little over 1,000 behind. He can do that in a season and a half. I think that's going to happen. Nash, two-time MVP, we see in fourth. Mark Jackson, some of you guys in the Northeast may remember from St. John's fame, got to the Knicks. He was a tremendous pass-first point guard, disgusting jump shot, but fantastic passer. He was kind of the engine that made those Knicks teams go, and he played on a couple other teams and hit a bunch of other teams actually during his NBA career. Now I like him as an announcer. He's a great announcer with Jeff Van Gundy. I know people bitch about announcers all the time. I like Mark Jackson. Had a very short stint on the Warriors before they started winning all the rings, and he handed those over to Steve Kerr. Magic Johnson clearly on the list. We know, Magic Johnson was an elite passer, arguably the greatest passer of all time. Longevity and durability being the issue with him, of course, with the HIV virus. LeBron's there. We know he checks the longevity category. Durability, pretty good, but certainly nothing on the, Paul Bunyan type, John Stockton, fairy tale, folklore, legendary durability list. Oscar Robertson, Isaiah Thomas, Gary Payton. So you're not finding any slouches on the top 10 assist lists either, just like the top 10 steals leader. The real question is, can LeBron catch Chris Paul for second all time? I think he can. I think it's very possible. He's 932 behind Chris Paul. Chris Paul's still playing. LeBron's still playing. If I had to bet my life on it, I would presume LeBron will end up getting a couple of extra years on Chris Paul before all is said and done. But again, at this age, we saw it with Kobe, we saw it with Tim Duncan, these dudes, and we see it with Blake Griffin. These dudes can hit a wall quick, so we don't know what the future holds in your late 30s and maybe those first 2 years of your 40s. Yes, I said it for Chris Paul and LeBron James. We don't know if they're going to be able to get to that second place spot, but it'll be fun to watch because those guys are two legends. But just like the steals list, 10 for 10 Hall of Famers. And by the way, Russell Westbrook, much maligned black sheep of the hobby, is number 11 on the list right now. And he's got a lot of tread left on the tire. He's certainly going to finish in the top 10 easily. He's going to catch Gary Payton and bump him out of the top 10. He's also 10th in career assists per game. So Russell Westbrook's not slowing down. He's going to put up crazy assists, and he's got a lot more tread on the tire than the other two guys that we just mentioned, in my opinion. So he's somebody to keep an eye on, and that would mean the top 11 would all be Hall of Famers, of course, because Russell Westbrook's a lock for a first ballot Hall of Fame. Westbrook is the only other active player that has any chance to crack the top 10. I went down the list, and here you can go down the list with me. I'm looking at Andre Miller, Strickland retired. In the guys that are in bold are the guys that are actually still active. Rondo, how active is he really? No chance. He's not going to catch up to Gary Payton. He's over 1,400, right at 1,400 behind. Zero chance Rondo keeps playing that long. And then you go all the way down to 28th. Kyle Lowry has almost ate his way out of the league. He looks like one of those little Oompa Loompas on Willy Wonka falling in the chocolate river. James Harden, again, he's got a lot of meat left on the bone. I think he's going to put up crazy numbers, but damn, man, 6,400 basically is a long way behind 8,966. It's not happening. Harden's not getting to the top 10. And then after that, we get all the way down to John Wall. Certainly no chance. Conley almost done. Steph Curry, he ain't passing the ball. Drew Holiday, no way, not young enough. Iguodala has played forever. He meets the longevity and durability, but he's just not that great a passer. He's just there because he's played a bazillion games. Rubio, no way at the end of his career. Joe Johnson is basically just wandering around. I didn't even know. Why is he bold? Is he still playing basketball in the NBA? I had no idea. Dame Lillard, he's 47-26 and he's in 78th. He's got to jump 68 spots. As much as I love him and he's my PC guy, there's no chance in the world he catches them. And now we're getting down to, guys that certainly have no chance. We're out of the top 100. Kevin Durant's not going to assist the ball, 6,000 more times. So it's not going to happen. Westbrook's the only one that's going to crack the top 10 for a very, very, very long time, at least 10, 12 years. Let's see. Jason Kidd's in second place. He averaged. Okay, let's get some stats in here. Let's mesmerize you with some stats. Here we go. Stockton led the league in assists 9 consecutive seasons. Nobody post-merger has done it more than 3 times. So Stockton did it 9. Nobody's done it more than 3 times post NBA ABA merger. Kuzi did it a bunch. I think it might have been 8 in a row, but Kuzi never even averaged 10 assists. So totally different analysis. We're talking about post merger when they started keeping track, of NBA ABA stuff. Stockton averaged 12 or more assists in a season, 8 consecutive seasons. Okay, let's think about this. So for 8 consecutive seasons, he averaged 12 or more assists. Only 17 times in history has somebody averaged 12 or more assists, and that's every player that's ever played the sport of NBA basketball. So Stockton versus everybody. Stockton did it 8, and it's only been done 17 times. So it's 8-9. Only not one player has averaged 12 assists per game. And this is the stat I really want you to take home. And this is what I want you to understand about Stockton. Remember, 8 consecutive seasons, he averaged 12 or more. The last time he did it was in 1994-95. Hadn't been done since. He did it 8 years in a row. And since 95, that's 27 years, nobody's done it again. 28 years it's been since anybody's averaged 12 assists in a season. Here's a list of players that have never had a 12 assists per game season. Chris Paul, Steve Nash, Rajon Rondo, Westbrook, Oscar Robertson, Mark Jackson, who's up there on the top 10 list. James Harden, never. 12 assists per game. That is a special number. And here's where it gets crazy. Stockton averaged 13 assists per game 5 times. So nobody in the last 28 years has averaged 12. He averaged 13 5 times. The rest of the NBA combined has done it 3 times, and no human being in the NBA has ever done it more than once. Magic did it. Isaiah Thomas did it, although I never speak his name on this channel. And then Kevin Porter did it. Okay? Those are the only 3 people to ever average 13. They did it once. Stockton did it 5 times. You want to take it a step further? Stockton averaged 14 assists per game twice. And guess what? He did it in back-to-back years. So imagine that in his prime, he's getting 14 plus assists per game in consecutive years. Nobody else has ever averaged 14 assists per game in NBA history. Only 3 people in history have averaged 13, and they each did it once. And 2 of them are two of the greatest passers that ever lived. So ironically, Stockton does not have the highest assists per game for his career. I'm going to give you 5 seconds. Guess who has the highest assists per game for his career? 5, 4, 3, Magic Johnson. Magic Johnson has the highest assists per game, which was 11.19. Stockton averaged 10.51 assists per game. So just let that sink in. This assist record's untouchable. You want to know what has to happen for these guys that are just looking up at John Stockton? Let's get back up here to our top 10 list, right? What has to happen? Here's your list of guys, right? You see Stockton, Kidd, Chris Paul, Nash, Mark Jackson, Magic, LeBron, Oscar, Isaiah, the Glove. We have Russell Westbrook, and then, of course, the great Utah Ute, Andre Miller, the Kentucky Wildcat killer. I have nightmares about what he did with his ground-bound game against the Kentucky Wildcats back in the 90s. So what has to happen for somebody to catch Stockton? Well, Jason Kidd's career is over, so we know he's not going to catch him. But what would have to be... What would have to have happened for Kidd to catch him? Well, here's a stat. You can add Derrick Rose's entire career assist total to Jason Kidd, and it still won't get to 15,806. Derrick Rose's entire career assist total added onto the second place player, and you still don't catch Stockton. You want more? For Kidd to tie John Stockton, he needs 427 more games at his average of 8.7 assists per game. Jason Kidd averaged 8.7 assists per game over his 19-year career. He needs 427 more games at his career average, which is 6 more 70-game seasons, which means he'd be 45 in the last season. So he would need to average 8.7 assists every season until age 45, and including at age 45. I don't think anybody's played basketball at age 45. Caldwell Jones was old. Kareem was old. I don't think they played at 45. That's Tom Brady shit. And we're not just standing here slinging passes around a football field. We've got to guard other point guards. So Jason Kidd would need to average 8.7 for 6 more seasons into his age 45 season. For Nash to catch him, Nash averaged less assists per game than Jason Kidd. A lot of people don't know that. So for Steve Nash here at number 4 to catch John Stockton at number 1, he needs 643 more games at his 8.5 assists per game average, which means 9.2 more 70-game seasons. Okay, hold on. Nash is 9.2 70-game seasons away from catching Stockton. That means that Nash would have had to have averaged 8.5 assists per game until age 49. I'm 48, and I can promise you, I can't go get an assist in an NBA game. So just these are some of the eye-popping, numerical fairy tales we can tell just about how superlative the great John Stockton was. He was a wizard with the ball. Here's another math nerd deal. Stockton has, listen to this closely, Stockton has 1,000 more career assists than Rondo and Bob Cousy combined. The two greatest point guards in the history of Boston Celtics basketball. Well, I guess Tiny Archibald played for the Celtics, but Stockton has 1,000 more assists than Rondo, who's 14th all time, and Cousy, who's top 20 all time. Add them together, Stockton still has 1,000 assist cushion. 1,000 assist cushion. So let's talk about Stockton's cards. Are we clear that he's got two absolutely untouchable, absolutely unbreakable records? I know this has been talked about a lot, but I feel like we don't talk about it enough in the hobby. And I wanted to make sure that the guys that watch Luka Nation Network are on the same page. And I know stats don't translate into value. And I know people are screaming and say, well, he just wasn't exciting. I get all those things. I just think it needs to be appreciated. I just think any longevity and durability like this needs to be appreciated. I mean, we talk about Cal Ripken with great reverence. We should really talk about John Stockton in the same way. 13 seasons to start his career, and he only missed 4 games. Just astonishing. He played 82 games. Let's go through it. Look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 times. He played every single game in a season 16 times. That is insane. We could go add up LeBron and Kobe and Kawhi and Harden and Embiid and Durant, and we add them all up. You're not getting to 16 combined seasons of 82 games. You're just not. Enough. All right, I'm off my diatribe. Let's talk about Stockton's cards, man. I've got it pulled up here, and there's no rhyme or reason to this. I've picked a couple of random cards. So I went into Card Ladder. I went into sales history. I typed in John Stockton, and I sorted by the highest price ever sold. The first 2 cards are Logo Men, but he shares it with another player, so we're going to throw those out. So the highest selling, at least on a public platform, the highest selling John Stockton card that I could find was this sale with the PWCC Vault in March 17th, 2022. It was an SGC 5.5, 1997 Metal Universe Precious Metals Gems. And guess who bought that card? Yours truly. That's my purchase. So right now, and I love this, I do. I paid the most of any person in history, or at least on a public setting, right? Of course, there could be private deals. I'm sure the PMG Green would far eclipse this. But for whatever reason, this is what I'm showing on Card Ladder. Comment below if you've paid more for a Stockton card. I'm sure there's people out there, but Card Ladder's got me as setting the all-time record, and this is not the type of record you want, right? I want to be the guy that sold this card, but I've got a good ending to this story. I bought this card from PWCC during my PMG Red set chase, and then I flipped it for a 25% profit, or about a 20% profit, about a month later. So what I did was I bought the SGC 5.5, I cracked it, I resubbed it to PSA, came back, had it in a PSA label. I can't remember, I think it came back a PSA 5 or a 6. I can't remember, it was one of those. And then I sold it to another set collector for a profit. So great story for Cajun Cardboard. I'm patting myself on the back. It worked out great. So once again, paying the highest price ever for a card doesn't always turn out bad. So let's talk about some of his other cards. You've got a Logo Man 1 of 1 on here. You've got another Logo Man 1 of 1. You're going to see a lot of exquisite collection stuff. Then you get some autographed Stockton Star cards, for $10,000. But look how quickly you get, these are, of course, 1 of 1 Logo Man. So you got this real big outlier here of 52,000 because it's Stockton and Chris Paul. I mean, that's pretty badass. They're going to end up being 1-2, or we think it looks like they're going to be 1-2 in total assists ever. And so that's a pretty amazing card to have, a Logo Man 1 of 1 of those two guys from Exquisite, obviously. So I can't say anything about that purchase. That's a big time purchase right there. But when we get down here, we get to 10,000 really fast. And that's an autographed star rookie card right there. So we get to 4 figures really fast on John Stockton, the all-time assists and steals leader. So that's kind of one thing I just wanted to shed a little bit of a light on. But let's look at some of his other cards. Let's talk about just a couple of his more noteworthy cards. And again, I'm not trying to piss anybody off, and I'm gonna get some Stockton, super collector that's gonna say, well, why didn't you talk about this? And I'm like, man, I'm not a Stockton collector, so I'm just gonna show you some of his most popular cards. So the 1984 Star, number 235 is, we not getting into this Star versus 88 Fleer argument, but this card matters. We'll just leave it at that. So you've got the autograph one up here, but the non-autograph BGS 9.5 sold in February of this year. So not long ago, about 7 months ago, this 9.5 copy of this card sold from the PWCC fixed price marketplace for $4,995. So his best, arguably, I'm looking at it, I guess maybe there's a PSA 10. I don't even know, but PSA didn't grade them, so I don't even think there is a PSA 10. We could pull up the pop report, but for time purposes, we're not gonna. BGS 9.5 is one of his best Star cards of all time. This is his XRC, but you can argue whatever you want. $4,995 for damn near the best Stockton rookie you could possibly find. That doesn't seem crazy to me compared to some of the crazy stuff that people are paying for ultra modern quarterbacks and ultra modern NBA basketball prospects. Let's look up his, we can pull this one up real easy up here in his 1988 Fleer Stockton. PSA 10. This is his kind of go-to rookie card from 1988 Fleer. And the real travesty here is, of course, that we're talking about this 1988 Fleer card that I've got pulled up on your screen. We're talking about this card as his rookie card when, in all fairness, Fleer dropped the ball. Can you imagine if John Stockton had a 1986 Fleer rookie card like he should? Then we'd be talking about this as his third-year card. But what makes it even worse, he wasn't even included in the 1987 set. This is a dude that, god dang, man. Go back and look at it. In 1986, he averaged 8 assists per game, played 82 games. I guess you could say he only started 2 games. My God, he averaged 8 assists per game, playing 22 minutes a game, and only started 2 games. That's nuts. I've never noticed that one. So add that to the list of absolutely preposterous things that John Stockton's done. He averaged 8.2 assists per game and over 2 steals a game, playing 22 minutes and only with 2 starts in that season. I'm trying to remember who the point guard would have been for the 1986 Jazz. Maybe a Jazz fan. Maybe Adam the Real Guy can let me know who the starting point guard for the Jazz was in 1986 if it wasn't John Stockton. But he didn't really start starting until that 1987-88, which is why that's his rookie card. They didn't put him in 86 Fleer. They didn't put him in 87 Fleer, which is a shame because those cards will be worth significantly more. So 88, the pop on this PSA 10 is 925. We can look at what this card's done over the last 6 months. It's going down. It's going down pretty noticeably. This card, I've got 2 of them, as I showed you, in my vault. There's nothing special about these cards. Like I said, pop 925. I think I bought one for like 900, and then it got so low. I think I bought another one for like 475 or something like that. I was like, this just seems too low. I know 925 is not low pop, but damn, man. It's Stockton's really only true rookie card. I know you got the Star argument, whatever. But 475, I was like, I grabbed it. I don't think it can go any lower than this. Well, I was wrong, man. The last one sold for 405. Of course, the one before it sold for 500. So we're probably at or near the bottom. Let's look at the last 3 months. So that's what's at. It's down 16% over the last 3 months. How many have sold in the last month? We've got 5 sales, down 13%. So it might still be going down, people. I don't know. I'm not sitting here telling you to go buy this Pop 925 Stockton rookie, but now you've seen the 2 cards that can be argued are his rookie card. What else do we have on here? Let's go back to sales history and card ladder, and let's pull up some other really cool. Oh, actually, I can look this up here because it's in the database. Here's another cool card that I like for Stockton. It's his 1992 Beam Team Stockton, and in PSA 10, it's a really rare card. So this is one of the first insert sets that really has meaning. Michael Jordan's in this set. Pippen's in this set. Shaq is in this set. A lot of great players in this Beam Team set. It's a little bit bigger insert set than normal. This is only pop 39. These are tough cards to grade. If we look at it over the last 2 years, throw this out because it was just after that first quarter bubble of 2021. The last 2 have sold for 160 and 150. That seems cheap to me. I don't know. I'm not collecting the set. I don't have the card. I'm not going to buy the card, but that seems cheap to me. Just my general observation. What else? We've talked about his 1997 Precious Metal Gems PMG Red, 1997. Let's just type in metal red Stockton, and that's going to pull up everything we need. And there you go. There's the sales of his precious metal gems. Let's go backwards from a date standpoint. There's my purchase at $15,000 from the vault, and then you got to go all the way back. What is that? 31 months ago to get, or is that right? Yeah, I think that's right. 31 months ago to get to 2020, right? Pre-pandemic. it sold for $27.50, $22.22 in 19, and then $1,000 back in 2016. So those are the only sales of that PMG red. So that's another really cool Stockton card. Another cool Stockton card that I'd like to bring to your attention from a set that I know and love. Of course, I don't have the card, but let's see what it's got. Here we go. So his Prism Gold, right? And so that's what that is. That one sold at the PWCC Weekly. Great looking card. Those are numbered to 10. That's from 2012 Prism. A BGS 9 copy here. Looks like it has a surface issue. Centering looks fantastic on this card, but might have a surface issue. These cards are prone to little hairline scratches on the borders. I know because I've cleaned probably 4,000 of the base cards and submitted them to PSA. Yes, I know I'm a weirdo, but I am a set collector, and so that is my affliction. And then let's talk about his 2003 Exquisite. Let's just type in logos Stockton. Let's see if that works. Does that work? There we go. Yeah, so let's pull these up. So this is in date order, the ones that have sold. Let's see the highest price sold one. Here you go. So John Stockton, limited logos, amazing insert from the 2003 first year Exquisite collection. I mean, that's a gorgeous card. These are serial numbered to 75. It's a PSA 7 with just an authentic auto. But man, how cool are those cards? And you've got some others just like it that sold right behind it. Here's a raw one that sold. I mean, that's just a freaking beautiful card. That patch is not as nasty as the first one. So, but you're talking about under $5,000 for some of the greatest John Stockton cards that have ever been printed. So I just thought it was interesting to bring some light and shed some light on one of these great forgotten GOATs that we're talking about. I've got John Stockton PSA 10 pulled up into eBay. I don't know if you've ever heard of that. I've stopped using it because it sucks so bad now, and it's a miserably big pain in the ass to deal with. I just lost a sponsorship from eBay. Not that they were knocking on my door, but eBay has become a huge pain in the ass. But I've got it sorted. Buy it now, PSA 10, highest to lowest. And look how quick. Of course, that's probably not going to work since we know that's a $450 card. But we've looked at this. That's a set, so that's not Stockton. Somebody wants a crazy number for his Sports Illustrated for Kids PSA 9. It says PSA 10, but of course it's a PSA 9. Thank you for that accurate listing right there. Here's a Spanish sticker that somebody's trying to trick people about. But then you're getting all the way down to 3,500, right? And then you got his PMG, his 2012 green. And so look how quickly you get to affordable John Stockton cards. It's just not given the respect that he deserves in the card community. Again, I am not your financial advisor. I am not a card guru who's giving advice about what to go buy. I am simply saying I woke up this morning. I have great memories of John Stockton. Nobody ever chose John Stockton and Karl Malone and the Utah Jazz in video games in my era when we were playing Live 95 or, Sega Genesis and all that crap. Nobody used these dudes. This guy's got no respect, at least in the general hobby amongst the general public. And it seems like he's getting less and less every year as the collector base gets younger and as people are tend to hyper focus on prospecting and modern prospects like John Morant and Zion. And those guys are all great. But man, look at how affordable some of these Stockton cards are out there. One of my good friends, Rob Gerard, the sports card therapist, great YouTube content creator. Go check out his channel if you haven't yet. I've had him on my channel. He's had me on his channel. He recently started a John Stockton PC. So I think there's room out there. The only advice, and I rarely tell people what to buy, and I'm definitely not telling you to go buy John Stockton because I'm not. But if I was going to go buy John Stockton cards, some of the ones we looked at are really cool. I'll be the first to admit that. Some of the more meaningful John Stockton cards that are out there. And there's others. There's rubies. There's one-of-ones. There's masterpieces. There's, gem masters, platinum medallions, and all that crap. There's a million great cards of John Stockton out there. They just don't show up on eBay right now, or they haven't been sold on, so Card Ladder hasn't picked them up. But what I would do if you wanted to start a John Stockton PC on a budget is I would go look at those 90s insert sets that feature Michael Jordan, okay? And then I would pull those sets up on Trading Card Database, and I would start searching those sets. Look at those Michael Jordan inserts that sell the most in the 1990s, and look at those Kobe Bryant inserts that sell the most in the 1990s, and I would go look in those sets on Trading Card Database or, Cardboard Connection or whatever you want to do, or Beckett, or however you go look at insert sets from the 90s, and then I would find the sets where Stockton is in there with Jordan. Those insert sets with Jordan and with Kobe and with Shaq, they tend to be the most relevant and that have the most demand, right? Because there's so many Jordan, Shaq, and Kobe collectors. And so I would start picking up those Stockton cards, man. That's what I would do if I was going to start a collection. I've been compelled and felt the urge and the draw to go do this with Olajuwon and Kemp and Gary Payton and Stockton and Malone and Ewing and Chris Mullin and Mitch Richmond. And, dude, I can go down the list, right? There's a lot of guys that I loved from the 90s and loved watching because I'm old, love playing video games with because I'm old, and I would love to go back and start a PC. And if I was going to do it, that's what I would do. I would go into those 90s insert sets and find sets that feature Jordan, Shaq, and Kobe. And if Stockton's in there, I'd buy a couple of those. Maybe buy raw and take your chances with PSA or BGS or SGC and just see if you can grade them. Maybe Tag's coming along. Maybe Tag can be your grading company of choice. I don't know. Or maybe just buy the card graded. Just depends on how you collect. I mean, hell, some people don't grade at all. So if you're a raw collector, man, you could have a freaking field day on John Stockton cards from the 90s. Anyway, that's it, guys. There's really no purpose to this video other than to just say, hey, don't forget about me. I was a pretty good player. I've got 2 records that are untouchable. Hopefully some of the math nerds, some math-centric numbers that I threw at you today kind of substantiated my claim that I'm going to be long gone by the time anybody catches Stockton's steals or assists record. It just ain't happening. And if you disagree with that, let me know in the comments who your dark horse is. Maybe it's Kevin Porter Jr. I don't know, but I don't see it happening. Comment below. Let me know what you think about Stockton cards. If you collect Stockton cards, beat your chest, man. Comment below. Let the world know. Let the world know what the best Stockton card out there is. Let the world know what you think the best Stockton investment is. I'm not here to give people investment advice, but I don't mind people in the comments doing so, right? That's what this is about. Engagement, watching, being engaged, having a conversation about John Stockton and about his cards. And I'm not going to stop with Stockton. I'm going to do a bunch more videos just like this, talking about some of the greatest to ever do it because, again, I'm just that old crotchety dude who's like, yeah, I love these guys too. And I prospect the hell out of ultra modern NBA, but I don't want the world to forget about these guys who came before them. Baseball does a great job of remembering these guys, remembering Clemente and Reggie Jackson and Wade Boggs and Gwynn and all those guys. Basketball is not doing a great job of remembering those guys. We remember the Rushmores and the Kareem and the Wilt and the Bill, and the Magic and the Bird and Jordan, of course, but I worry about some of these other guys, the Moses Malones. It would be a great forgotten GOAT to do an episode on. So just don't forget about those guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm filming it on a Friday. I couldn't get out of the office until I put this thing and hit the record button. So thank you for watching. Keep collecting. Stay positive in the hobby, and peace.